Can the Cowboys win a Super Bowl with Dak Prescott at quarterback?
He can. I mean, Dak Prescott continues to ascend. He played at a near MVP level this year, the most passing touchdowns that he's had in his career. He hadn't had the postseason success, but I feel like that has more to do with coaching than it does anything else. The talent is there for the Dallas Cowboys. It's just a matter of making sure you got the right guy on the sidelines wearing the headset to not only dial up the X's and O's, but also set the agenda for the team. I don't think Mike McCarthy has done the best job of that in his 4-year tenure as the head coach.
Okay, I'm about to make everybody mad. Julian Goldstick, our producer, I'm sorry, because you just said it. I'm going back to it. It's all we were talking about, and it got everybody fired up. You believe the Cowboys need to make a coaching change?
Absolutely. They have to make a coaching change. At this point, I don't know how you can keep ignoring the lack of success once we get to the postseason. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Jerry Jones ain't buying green bananas. And now that you have Bill Belichick and potentially Mike Vrabel representing upgrades during this hiring cycle available, why wouldn't you go out there and do that? You got a chance to hire the coach that is second when it comes to wins all time, the coach that has the most Super Bowls on his resume in Bill Belichick. You got the quarterback, you got the offensive line, you got the defense. You just need somebody that can help this team block out the outside noise, create an environment that fosters these guys being at their best when their best is required. I don't know if there is a better coach for the Dallas Cowboys based on where this roster is than Bill Belichick.
Yeah, and Marcus, let's pick up where we were a little while ago because we got cut off by time, and that's just the reality sometimes of the situation. But like the Jerry Jones of it all, the idea that he's a problem, all this kind of stuff, you know, like Taylor Swift's I'm the problem, it's me. I don't think it's Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones isn't the reason they had 6 defensive backs on the field the entire game the other day while they were getting the ball run down their throat. He's not the reason that Dak Prescott every year when they get to the playoffs looks like half the quarterback he was during the regular season. He's not the reason they can't run the ball. Now, you want to argue that maybe he should have made an acquisition here or there. You could say that about a lot of teams. But this idea that Jerry Jones is the impediment in Dallas, I think is not right. It is the coaching, and if you put Bill Belichick there, I believe it would give them the maximum opportunity to keep this window alive next season, Marcus.
Yeah, look, Bill Belichick is going to be an upgrade. It'll be a better football team. I agree with that. Me and Chris was in Dallas when Bill Parcells was the coach. Everybody thought that would be an upgrade, and we would get to a Super Bowl and have an opportunity to win one. And we played some really good football. When Wade was there, and I think Chris was in New York at that time, we had a really good football team. We made moves. That was the first time I actually felt like Jerry Jones went all in, signing Terrell Owens and Ken Hamlin and Leonard Davis and Mark Colombo, bringing dudes in that had played really good football at a high level. Here's my thing, and Chris has been on this about the 12 wins. That matters to me. But it also took this Green Bay game to make me realize how unprepared Dallas was. That was the indictment on Mike McCarthy. They were unprepared to play against that football team on both sides of the ball. There is no finger I can point more than at the head coach. But also, you just went through a litany of lists. The one common denominator has been Jerry Jones. And I went back, and Chris, I want to hear your take on this. I went back over the last 5 years of the Super Bowl. There is a line of demarcation with every single team that has won a Super Bowl in the last 5 years of making impactful free agency moves in order to put themselves in the position to win a championship. Dallas has not. And as much as people gonna scream at me and say they haven't. They haven't made a Christian McCaffrey type move even after going to NFC championships. They haven't made a Matt Stafford and a Jalen Ramsey type move in order to go try to win a Super Bowl when you trade away a quarterback that had been to a Super Bowl. These are the things that people have been doing roster-wise that Dallas has not. So I just don't agree with this whole notion that the roster has been there to win a Super Bowl compared to what I've watched teams win Super Bowls do.
That's fair. The reality is that the roster was there to beat Green Bay the other day.
They're a top five offense, top five defense this season. So I'm not going to argue that point, although it is well taken what Marcus Spears is saying. The one thing I will say is when you talk about preparedness to play, it's beyond the X's and O's. When you got Dak Prescott, the quarterback of the team, talking about I'm buying Louis luggage for me and my lady to remind me of where the Super Bowl is because the logo is an LV and it's in Las Vegas, that's a problem.
Yeah.
When you got Micah Parsons talking about the all-time greats with the Dallas Cowboys and talking about how him, Dak, and CeeDee Lamb want to be mentioned in that same breath and not talking about the Green Bay Packers, that's a problem.
Right.
You need the head coach to set the agenda for the team. And Mike McCarthy hasn't done a great job of that. Otherwise, there wouldn't be that kind of noise on the eve of a playoff game.
I'm just trying to imagine Bill Belichick's face if his quarterback, if Tom Brady had said, well, the Super Bowl is in Tampa Bay, so I'm going to create a bunch of shirts that say TB on them, although, of course, he already has those. Yeah, I get all of that. Wait, I got to get everyone in.
So,
Go.
so one of the things you said is Jerry Jones is not the impediment. I agree that Jerry Jones is not the reason that the team plays without energy or seem to have looked past the Packers in their preparation. However, Jerry Jones is the one hiring the coaches.
Right.
And to Marcus's point, when it comes time to re-sign guys, sign guys in free agency, fill the roster with those kind of moves, it is on Jerry Jones. So here's the thing. Jerry Jones is at an impasse. Does he stand pat? Does he stay loyal to a guy he thought could bring him a title? Or does he take a step back and say, I can make an upgrade, I have to be aggressive, and I will do anything I can to bring Bill Belichick to
I
the
want to
star.
defer my time to Swagu because he was all fired up.
I
I just saw the hand up. I got to hear what he got to say.
Marcus, give me quick because I got a few other things I want to get in here. Go ahead, Marcus, go.
I understand what Chris is saying, but I think every person on this panel probably took the San Francisco 49ers to go to the Super Bowl. Am I correct in saying
Yes.
that? Because I did. I took the 49ers. Why did we take the 49ers? Because they got better coach and better players. That's why we took the 49ers to go to the Super Bowl. Like, who hires those guys?
Okay.
The ownership in San Francisco. When we took Philly last year, why did we take Philly? Players and coaches.
If I'm Bill
Don't
Belichick,
go down
there's gonna have to
95.
be
Don't.
massive change in the organization if Bill Belichick is going to go to Philly. And we talked about it
Philly.
yesterday. To Philly.
Okay,
If he were going to go to Philly, it would be massive change. So because the one thing about Bill that he and Jerry will get along about is he's the owner. He's signing your check. So if he's going to bring players, that's it. He is not. Bill Belichick is not going to be second fiddle to anybody in roster reconstruction, any of that kind of stuff. So something would have to be figured out from Jeffrey Lurie down to figure out what the thing is. They have significant issues on the back end. Both their coordinators will most likely be replaced. So, and you have a head. So, as you're looking at this whole situation in Philly, I think that is a much more volatile situation. For all people say about Jerry, dude, there is a level of consistency in Dallas that he provides. In Philly, you win it 2 years, you're fired. You know what I mean? Like they are successful, they are not stable. So that is the issue for them. Is if you're Bill Belichick and you're trying to go grab 15 wins and a shot at the Super Bowl, and you got Dak Prescott there, that's a better.
You agree with that? You like that better than Philly for Belichick?
Ooh, I mean, listen, Philly has fired really, really good coaches. So I get what Jeff is saying, but Philly has also had success in the postseason more recently than the Dallas Cowboys.
Yes.
I mean, the Cowboys, 27 years in running since they've been to a conference championship game?
Right.
The Eagles were in the Super Bowl last year.
Right.
So, I mean,
and they won it 5 or 6 years ago.
If you're Bill Belichick, I think the Eagles situation with the cap space that they have, with the draft picks that they have, might be a situation where you can get it turned around a little bit quicker than the Dallas Cowboys. To me, it's a much heavier lift in terms of changing the culture in Dallas in order to make them a championship contender than actually in Philly. Here's the thing, and I'll say to Swagu's point, Bill Parcells used to always talk about this in terms of overall talent. The best players don't always make the best team, but the best team always wins. I was on a 9-7 Giants team that won the Super Bowl. We were by no means the most talented team in the NFL that year, but we win the damn Super Bowl because we had a head coach in Tom Coughlin that set the agenda and helped us block out the outside noise. It's hard to do that in Dallas.
I'll say this. Bill Belichick comes with an offensive coordinator and a defensive coordinator if you need him to. That team, I think, is much closer. They were 10-1 2 months ago. Do you believe that at some point today or tomorrow we will hear Mike McCarthy is no longer the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys?
I do, and I believe if he does it's because he gets a Bill Belichick or somebody that he thinks is a significant upgrade. Let me give y'all an analogy, right? Like if Google stock was to hit the market right now for $40 a share, it'll go stupid, right? That's what's happening in coaching right now. Bill Belichick is the Google stock of coaching. Harbaugh is the Google stock of coaching, and they are available, which is very rare for you to be able to get these guys in this particular situation. So as much as we talked about how I felt like Mike McCarthy was super unprepared, the overall arching fact is that Bill Belichick is available, and Jim Harbaugh is available, and Mike Vrabel is available. Circumstances change based on who's available. We see it time and time again. Let Kirk Cousins say he's looking for a new destination. It's a lot of people that ain't gonna be so in on their quarterbacks that are in right now. If Justin Fields becomes available, it's a lot of people that's gonna be out on their quarterbacks and not so vigilant talking about this is our guy going forward. So let's not get it twisted. This is not just about how bad Mike McCarthy was against the Green Bay Packers, which I think is enough for you to evaluate if you want to move forward with him. It's also who's available. And in this league, in the NFL, since my time entering it in 2005, who being available matters to where rosters go and how you move forward. Because I know when Terrell Owens became available, it was a quick decision by Jerry Jones to try to figure out how to get him in that building. That changed from the tenor of not wanting to sign high-dollar wide receivers. It changed quickly because of who was there.
I think oftentimes people are as loyal as their options. So I think if you are Jerry Jones and you believe I have a chance to get Bill Belichick or Jim Harbaugh, I can't imagine sitting there and saying, you know what? We're going to run it back with what we just had. That was fine. Because Jerry Jones, you talk about his age, I think Jerry Jones has to understand for years he kept Jason Garrett. And it was a lot of the 8-8s, the 9-7s. They were competitive, had good seasons, but didn't quite get you there. If Jerry Jones is serious about winning a Super Bowl, as much as he says, you as an owner, you as a GM, de facto GM, have to do whatever it takes to put your team in the best situation. And you have two excellent head coaches that are available.
And let's also not be naive here, okay? And we're all adults, right? Can we have an adult conversation?
Yeah.
There's no way in the world that he makes any of these decisions without already knowing what's
100%.
happening. He doesn't fire Mike McCarthy and then hope Bill Belichick is interested in his job. These are conversations, regardless of whether you think they should or shouldn't. This is why people have agents. This is why everyone talks to everyone.
Yeah.
These are discussions that are had and decisions that are made before they wind up going out there to
I
the
just
world.
want to say this because the Harbaugh gets thrown in, right, with Belichick. I want to make sure that we make a clear distinction here between those two, right? Like I think Belichick would be a significant upgrade.
Right.
The whole like Harbaugh to McCarthy, like McCarthy's coached in the league 17. He's had 4 losing seasons, and 2 of the 4 he's had Aaron Rodgers and Dak Prescott be hurt. Like, the dude can coach ball. He's got a top 5 offense. Like he understands. So as far as like how much growth you're going to have from a Harbaugh to a McCarthy, I think that's a very narrow margin. I think the Belichick issue is more about casting a vision in the way that he understands how to win playoff games and Super Bowl. Harbaugh has gotten to the Super Bowl. McCarthy won one. Like, let's just make sure that we're clear on. So I'm 100% with you if you say this is the decision I'm going to make. I'm going to move on from McCarthy to Bill Belichick. If you start bringing everybody else in, the Harbaughs, the Vrabels, I'm out, bro. Like I'm just telling you, like I think you stay. You're going to have a new defensive coordinator because Quinn's going to be a head coach somewhere. But I think I would roll it back if that were my situation. I am not moving on unless I know I am for sure getting better. I think Bill Belichick stands a separate line than all the others we were trying to talk about.
I mean, there's a part of me that disagrees with you so strongly. I'm going to jump out of my chair. Go ahead, Marcus.
It still becomes about the groceries as well, though. Like as far as Bill Belichick, we saw Bill Belichick be awful getting people on offense. We just not gonna gloss over the fact that he did have Matt Patricia and Joe Judge run his offense.
That's right.
And then brought in Bill O'Brien. Like we're not gonna gloss over that. We're not gonna gloss over the fact that he was the general manager and was awful at bringing people in. They had one summer where they spent a lot of money and wasn't able to put it together. So that part has to be mentioned. So in line with that, Jeff and Kmart, Jerry Jones is the general manager.
That's right.
I think it needs to be a change there as well. So this is not just as simple as saying we go plug and play Bill Belichick. There are going to need to be some philosophical changes about how you are trying to go about winning a Super Bowl. And that gets back to what I've been talking about with Jerry Jones. So I get it. Bill Belichick is obviously going to have his teams ready to play, and you have to have players to have success. But there's also going to have to be a change in who's deciding who we're going to bring in. Because it's Jimmy's and Joe's when you get to the playoffs. That's what it comes down to. So leave that out there as well. It's not just a coaching change and everything is fixed in Dallas.
And I would say when you look at Dallas's defense, like what Quinn does and what Belichick, they're completely different, philosophically, right? And so what you saw in Dallas over the last, however many months is they couldn't stop the run, right? For the season, they get bludgeoned up the middle. They can't. Bill Belichick is not going to have little defensive line. I played against him 13 years. I'm telling you right now, he's going to go get some freaking road grading, grown freaking men that have been shaving since 12 years old that weigh 350 and sit right in the middle. And they ain't giving up no run game now. I'm just going to let you know it is a different mentality. Yeah. The difference I think that I see with Bill Belichick is Mike McCarthy. He coached Lawrence Taylor. You're telling me this don't know how to create mismatches?
Yeah.
There are things that he could do that will uplift this team, and it really will be kind of what they talked about. Defense can control things, but there will be significant changes, especially on that side of the ball. The style of play will not be, they will be much more physical. And I think for the Cowboys offensively, that's where Belichick will also help because he understands complementary football. The first 3 years they won the Super Bowl, y'all, it wasn't because of Brady. Now they became an offensive team.
Dan Quinn, obviously Mike McCarthy. Dak Prescott holds as much at fault as those two guys. And I don't care what anybody said. Well, the defense gave up 41 points. Great. Well, go score 41 points then. Because that's what we are asking. We're asking when it's not perfect. That's why I was so enamored with how these conversations would go after this playoff loss about Dak in particular. I said it all season long. Can you respond when it's not going well? Can we walk away saying you are the reason the Dallas Cowboys was able to win that game when everything was going haywire and the defense couldn't get a stop and nobody could stop anybody? And were you the guy? We saw Josh Allen do it. These conversations that have revolved around this year, and why do we talk about Josh Allen and not talk about that? Because we saw Josh Allen continue to respond in a playoff situation to Patrick Mahomes. Back to back to back. Back to back. We don't see that from Dak. We see interceptions for pick sixes. We see a blank stare on his face like he don't know what is going on. It looks like the moment is too big for him. This is a consistent now response from Dak Prescott when he gets into the playoffs. And the Tampa performance was great. That was great, right? And I don't take that away from him. But these are the situations where everybody's like, bro, we don't know who you are when you get here. Can you raise the level one or two times? Because that's what it takes to get to a Super Bowl. So to me, Dak is at as much fault. This game was 14-0 for a long time. And I guarantee you, if you come down as a quarterback and you make a few plays, that the tone and tenor of this game changes for the Green Bay Packers. Dak is at as much fault as Dan Quinn and Mike McCarthy.
I agree with you, Debo. I really do. Here's my question, though. When I look at these notes, you were asked, is Dak Prescott a guy or the guy? And you said, hey, man, quarterbacks like this don't grow on trees, bruh. And that is my question. I am with you. When we look at the Cowboys, how are we going to upgrade at head coach, at quarterback? We know an upgrade exists head coaching-wise in Bill Belichick. Who's the answer at quarterback? What if Dak is not the answer and you still think he's the guy, what is the better solution for the Cowboys? It's easy, again, it's easy to say get rid of the quarterback, but who else?
Yeah, but the guy, and I thought I explained it clearly, the guy is predicated on what's available.
Yeah.
The guy changes, right? Like we saw situations, we've seen these things in the league. You would have said Jared Goff was the guy in Los Angeles until Matt Stafford became available. You would have said that. So it's not necessarily about Dak Prescott being the guy overall that you would want above anybody else. But supply and demand matters in this league. So he's
But
the
who
guy
should they
for
get
Dallas.
is my
unless
question.
No, they can't
somebody-
get anybody. No one is saying they can't.
Right.
But
They
the
can't
point
get-
is, so now you're going to pay the guy $60 million a year, and you're going to pay CeeDee Lamb, and you're going to pay Micah Parsons, and you're going to go out and play with 3 guys on your team.
Yeah.
You're basically going to have a roster that has 3 players on it, and that's going to be the end of it. I mean, you said it before. You're as loyal as your options.
Options.
They don't
Hello.
have better options. No one's arguing they do, but it isn't necessarily not a problem just because it's a good problem to have.
Yeah, I think part of when you read into this game, and I said this was the first game that I felt like I would literally lay at the feet of a better team losing to a team that I didn't think was as good, right? From the McCarthy regime or whatever. I thought,
Yeah.
Now, you can talk about Dak's performance, throwing the interceptions. He should not. The one interception by Alexander was an incredible play, right? Like the pick 6 was boneheaded, but the first pick was. CeeDee Lamb had 2 drops early, right? Like there were some other things going on. There was some other frustrations. Like
Jeff,
I think people think about like offensive football being played in a vacuum. It's not played that way. And when your defense is getting run all over, and now you're putting more pressure on the offense. So now we're going to talk about let's go elevate it. And I hear that argument about Dak Prescott. He can't elevate the same way a C.J. Stroud elevated his team, or a Josh Allen elevates his team. Here's the other part. We're talking about Lamar Jackson. They're the number 1 seed. Last time they were number 1. He's what, 1-4? So he hadn't quite made that minimum mark. But it's not. So be careful. Be careful when you start talking about where are we going to go. Because I know a lot of people who passed on Lamar Jackson this offseason, and now the dude's going to be the MVP this season, right? So everything can change by the quality of things that are happening around you. And I think a running back actually would have helped Dak be better. Go look at Green Bay's game plan, y'all. It wasn't just Jordan Love throwing the ball all over the field. It was because of what happened first. It all matters. It can't just be one guy that you're trying to single out.
Quick final word, Marcus, go.
Jeff, I would be with you if it wasn't like 3 years we've watched it,
I get you.
I would be with you. And
Yeah.
I've been there with Dak Prescott. And let's not forget too, bro. Like think about what you would be saying if Devondre Campbell doesn't drop a red zone interception. Think about how you would change what you just said in that particular situation. Bro, he doesn't raise to the level you need to in playoff games consistently enough for you to think that Dallas can win a Super Bowl. Just take Matthew Stafford and Jared Goff game. After that game was played, those were 2 quarterbacks that raised their level against going tit for tat. Because if one of them doesn't play well, their team gets beat probably more handily than we saw. Dude, it's been enough for me to acknowledge that he shrinks in those moments.
No, it's the right thing to say. And he was playing against a bad defense. I mean, we're allowed to say it. Green Bay's defense gave up 30 points to Carolina 3 weeks ago. All right.